Girls, 5, 4, 3. Thank you so much. We only got down to 3. Wow. We have a special presentation today by Mr. John Robinson. And Mr. Robinson actually lives in Glenmont. And his children went to Glenmont School. And his youngest son, Owen, is just in 7th grade. So maybe some of your older brothers and sisters know Owen. So Mr. Robinson is here to talk to us today. I know you're going to be an excellent audience. First, can everybody sit down flat so everyone behind you can see? Thank you so much for sitting flat. And I know you're going to listen very carefully and not do a lot of talking so we can all hear Mr. Robinson. So thank you for being an excellent audience. Can we please give a round of applause to welcome Mr. Robinson?
Good morning. You guys are all sitting very nicely and quiet. This is great to meet everybody. I'm gonna give you all time to ask questions. So when it comes time to ask a question, you can raise your hand, and I'll do the best to answer it. The best way we learn from each other is to ask questions and answer questions with kindness and love and respect, but to ask and answer questions. And so I speak all around the country. I speak to people really old and really young. And the best way we learn from each other is to be able to ask and answer. So there's no question that you ask that's bad, but just remember to stay quiet so that I can hear your question, and stay quiet around others so that I can answer, so everybody gets a chance to hear, okay? Is that good? So my name is John Robinson. I do live in Glenmont. I live right here in this community. My wife and I moved here nearly 16 years ago, and we have had 2 of our 3 children have come through this school. So I've dropped kids off from your age on up for the better part of the past 15 years. And so I'm proud to share that. I know most of the teachers here. So I know who you guys have as teachers, and I know they're great teachers, so you're really lucky to have them as teachers. My wife, Andrea, and I have 3 children, and I want you to know that because that's really important to me. The most important person and people in my life are my family, and whether it's my wife, Andrea, or my son, Hayden, who's 26, my daughter, Ariel, who's now a freshman in college, and she was a kindergartner right here, well, 1st grader at the time, and my son, Owen, who's in 7th grade. So I'm proud of them, and I'm proud to share with you some stories that we all will understand. But the first thing I need to share with you is ask you a question. Do I look a little bit different? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. See, all of us are different from each other. None of us look the same as the next person next to you. Maybe somebody has blonde hair, maybe somebody has a New England Patriots t-shirt on, maybe somebody stands 3 feet 9 inches tall with no arms and no legs like I do. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that I look different. What matters is how I interact with you, meet you, greet you, answer your questions. It doesn't matter that if you look different from your friends. What matters is, are you a good friend, and are you good to the people around you? That's what matters. You see, I do look different. So I'm going to give you some technical terms. I'm a person with a disability, so I am disabled. There are many people around in this world who have a disability. Some disabilities you see mine, and some disabilities are hidden, you can't see. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay if there are people that are different around us. We just have to be able to ask questions and then accept the answer. So I look different. So do me a favor. Can you put your elbows together for me for a moment? Okay? So I have to use what would have been my elbows to be able to hold a pen, to be able to pick up my phone, to be able to grab my coffee cup, or if I have a fork or a pencil, I use my two, what would have been elbows, as if it's one hand, all right? And that's different, but it's also the way that I've learned how to do it. So, I was born exactly as I look now. No arms and, well, short arms and short legs. My arms end at where your elbows are, okay? No elbow, no wrist, no hand, no fingers. But I can tell you I understand what it would be like to have hands, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. Because in the ends of my arms right now, I'm moving the muscles that would have turned into hands and fingers. Can you see that? So I know in my mind what it's like to move my thumb. It moves this thing. My friends used to call that a marshmallow. You know why they called it a marshmallow? It looks like one, right? It also feels like one. You want to squeeze the marshmallow? Isn't that weird? Yeah. My friends thought that was the marshmallow. So this has been called the marshmallow by my kids, and I'm sure my grandchildren someday will call it the marshmallow because it looks like one. But it would have turned into a thumb. And so I'm moving my thumb in my mind right now. And I'm also moving my fingers in the ends of my arms. And so I don't worry about what it would have like to have had hands, because in my mind I already know what it's like. And it's okay. Yes, I look different, but it's okay. My legs are different altogether. They're the lower part of your leg. So I've got a foot and my lower part of my leg, but no knee and no upper part. And so if you see a skeleton or a picture of a skeleton, you know that your hip fits really nicely with the rest of your body. Mine does not. The bone in my leg, there's about a 2-inch gap from where the bone is to the rest of my skeleton. And it's only muscle holding it together. And that's why I walk funny. One of the third graders asked, why do I walk funny? Well, I walk funny because I don't have knees. And so I have to shuffle side to side to be able to move my legs forward. But you know what? I'm lucky. Because if I had been born without feet, or feet facing backwards like a bird, they would have been amputated at birth. So I'm really, really lucky to be able to walk myself and to be able to be able to get around. That's what's very important. So I'm an amputee, which means I'm without limbs. In this case, I'm without parts of all 4 of my limbs. But I'm okay. Now, do you think I ever got picked on as a kid? I did. I did get picked on as a kid. But usually it was because somebody didn't know me, or they weren't a friend of mine. But once people became comfortable to ask me questions, or they became friends of mine, then they stopped picking on me. Have you seen people get picked on before? Yeah. But if you see that person one-on-one with another person their own age, eventually you'll get to know each other. If you get picked on, I want you, yes, to tell somebody, tell an adult, but I also want you to go with the people that like you. If you get picked on and you're with your friends aren't going to pick on you anymore. One of the first lessons I learned in my life was, be with who loves you. I went to the people who are my best friends in life, and they never picked on me, even though I look really funny. But it's okay. I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm blessed to be who I am. All right? So I'm an amputee. I don't have arms or legs like yours. Now, do you have any questions about that? I'll give you time to ask some questions. Go ahead, dude. Wow, you noticed the bike? What bike? What bike? All right, how many of you have a question about the bike? All right, well, all right, we'll go there. Okay, how many of you have ridden a tricycle in your life? How many of you, all right, stay quiet. How many of you are riding a bicycle now? All right. So when I was your age, I couldn't ride a bicycle. I couldn't get on the bicycle, and without knees, then I couldn't pedal the bicycle. And so I had the opportunity about 4 years ago to go to the Olympic Games for people with disabilities. It's called the Paralympics. And when I was there watching other athletes, I noticed people racing their wheelchairs. I noticed people playing wheelchair basketball. I noticed people playing wheelchair rugby. Now, how many of you like to play games in gym? Yeah. Well, when I was your age, I really didn't have other games that I could play with people that looked like me. But then when I went to London and I saw other people with disabilities, I watched them compete against each other. Well, one of the best things I saw was a 3-wheel hand cycle. And when I came back from London, I had the opportunity to find one here in this area, in our community. And you know what's great? For the first time in my life, I learned to ride a bike, but I wasn't 6 years old, I wasn't 7 years old, I was 44 years old. And it was the best thing that I ever did. And I learned how to ride that bike, and I thought it was great. And I did 1 mile. 1 mile, it was our neighborhood, right here in Glenmont. I did the mile loop around our neighborhood. And you know who taught me to ride the bike? My kids. You guys taught me to ride the bike. Because on either side of me was Owen and Ariel, my 2 younger children, were teaching me how to pedal. And for the first time in my life, I learned to do it. And we did the 1 mile loop around our neighborhood. And when I got home, because it's really hard to pedal with your arms, when I got home, I was sweaty and sticky, and I thought I was done. And then my wife came outside and she said, "Wow, this is great." She says, "I've always wanted to take a bicycle trip with you." I'm thinking, that's wonderful. And she goes, "I want to do something a little bit more than our neighborhood." And I said, "How much more?" A couple of miles, maybe from 1 mile to 2 miles? And she said, "No, I want to do all of New York State. And it's 350 miles. That's a lot of miles." So she took out a map and she showed me. And you know what? We trained, and in 2013, we did all of New York State on a hand cycle from Buffalo to Albany. Now, in 4th grade, you're going to learn about the Erie Canal, so I don't want to ruin the surprise. But it's a long, 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 long canal. Think about the worst car ride and make it longer. So we did it in 17 days. And I wanted to bring the bike to show you, but I also want to show you some pictures. This is what the bike path looks like along the Erie Canal. This is my business partner, Mr. Hamlin, and I. If you notice that we have more stand-up bikes, they're more recreational, they're not really used for racing. And this is the day before we start in 2013. Now, Mr. Hamlin, who's in the yellow bike, he uses a wheelchair to get around. He hurt himself about 30 years ago and he uses a wheelchair, and so this is the bike that he uses. So that's year 1. This is us in year 2, and now we've gotten our faster bikes and we're better at this and we know how to do this. And you'll notice that the bike in the picture that I'm on is the same bike that's here in front of the class. And this is us this year. So we have cycled across New York State for the past 3 years. And we do it because there are people with disabilities everywhere. And we all want to be not only proud of who we are, but we want to answer your questions. Because you guys have questions about people with disabilities, and we want to be able to answer them. Now, This is us on the bike path. Not all of the path is paved. Not all of the path is stone. Sometimes it's grass. You know what's bad about grass? When they don't mow it. And your bike is only 2 inches off the ground. That's what's bad about it. It becomes very hard to push. And sometimes you're going over bridges and you see the waterfalls under and it's very pretty. But you're seeing so many great things out in New York State. And these two people are very important. This is Mrs. Hamlin, Doug's wife. She's on the left. She's a 4th grade teacher in Voorheesville. And this is my wife, Mrs. Robinson. She's a school nurse in North Colony. And you know what their favorite thing to do in the summer is? Bike across New York State. It's a long way, but we have a good time doing it. And you know why we do it? Because there are so many other people out there who are different, and we want to thank them, and we want to inspire them. And so these are 2 pictures, and you'll see in the groups of pictures, it's small, it's hard to see, but there are between 50 and 250 people with disabilities in each picture, and we want to tell them that they inspire us. You know what also happens on the Erie Canal? Once in a while it rains. Do you know what happens when your bike is 2 inches off the ground when it rains? You get wet, and you get muddy. And you know what happens when your face is only a foot away from the front tire in the mud? Who wants to take a guess? Say it. You get your face all muddy. There's no doubt about it. You get your head all muddy. Your body's all muddy. You know what else is in there besides mud? I'll give you what? Worms. There are worms, actually, yes. There's also, besides worms and mud, there's a lot of geese. There's a lot of geese on the bike path. And you know what geese do? Poop. Who said it? They poop. You know what happens when your face is a foot away from your bike tire and you're running through goose poop? Your face gets poop on it. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? You know why you do that? Do you know why you get muddy and why you eat goose poop? Because you're trying to cross New York State. And you're doing it because there are other people with disabilities who want to be proud of who they are. And there are other people that want to be a part of a greater community. So I want to ask you a question. Don't answer it out loud, but raise your hand. Do you have a hero or a sports hero or somebody that you look up to? Maybe a superhero? Maybe a parent? Right? One of the things that we noticed as we were biking across New York State, we were invited to an event. You can put your hands down. We were invited to an event to celebrate and meet another person with a disability who's an athlete. He won a gold medal in London. His name is Ryan Chalmers, Mr. Chalmers. And the event was for him, but pretty quickly we realized it wasn't about Mr. Chalmers. It was about these 2 little boys who ride in a wheelchair every day and whose athletic hero isn't LeBron James or Tom Brady, but it's Mr. Chalmers. And you know, these 2 boys were so excited to show us their wheelchairs and their face paint, and they have lights on the back of their wheelchairs, and they were so excited to show us that. And the reason why we cycle across New York State, the reason why we come speak to schools like yours, is because it's okay to be different. And I don't want just you guys to know it's okay to be different, and I do. I want those 2 boys to know it's okay to be different. Because, you know what? We are all different. And it's how we act, it's how we ask questions, and it's how we answer questions with love and kindness. That's how we learn about ourselves, right? That's the best thing. Now, you guys are sitting still really well. Does anybody have a question? You can raise your hand. I'll try to get to everybody. Go ahead, dude. I'll repeat it. You just moved to a new house in Glenmont? That's really cool. I live in Glenmont. I'm happy. Whoa, he says. Whoa. I live in Glenmont. Go ahead.
My dad lives at Glenmont.
Your dad lives at Glenmont? Well, we all live in Glenmont. This is great.
He's right across my mom.
Right across the school. Does anybody have a question about disabilities? Go ahead, Mr. Tom Brady.
My hamster died.
Your hamster died? I'm sorry to hear that. That's not fun. In the purple behind you? Yeah, so it's really cool, the stuff that helps me do the things that I need to do. So let me answer that question. So I use most of the same things you do in life, but I use a cane. I use a cane to be able to pull my pants up and down, a walking stick. I will use a button hooker, which is a little piece of wood with a metal, a small metal wire on it to be able to button my shirts. So there are things that I need to help me sometimes, but for the most part, I've learned how to do all the things that you do with the body that I have. I drive a car. Actually, I drive a truck. I have a job. I help my kids. I do all those kinds of cook. I do all those kinds of things, and I've learned how to do it without having hands. Go ahead. How do I cook? I cook very poorly, very poorly. But I do like to make chili. No, what I'll do is I'll get 2 chairs in the kitchen, and I'll hop from chair to chair, either at the sink or at the stove. And so I just have to be a little bit taller to cook, and I have everything set out before I do that. Go ahead, dude. Think we can be grateful? You know what? We should all be grateful. That's a really good point. You know, we're all lucky to have what we have. And if we look at what we have, then we will be grateful for who we are. Go ahead, right there. Stand up. How do I ride the bike? So the best way to ride the bike, put my arms in the cups, right? I put my arms in the cups and then pedal forward, and then my foot has the brake so I can stop. And so you know what? I bike a lot, and you might see me on a Saturday or Sunday morning when you're riding with your parents. I do 25 miles a weekend while there's no snow on the ground because I need to keep the strength up to be able to do the Erie Canal again next year. Go ahead, bud.
Why do you have a ball?
Why do I have a
A ball?
A ball? That's a good question. Why do I have a ball? Because I like to play with a ball. Do you like to play with a ball? Come on out here. Come on out here, dude. Sit there. You know my favorite thing to do as a kid was to play ball. So I played Little League baseball, and I played kickball in gym, and I played all the games that you play. And you know what? It was my favorite thing to do was to play with a ball as a kid. And then as I got older, I couldn't play Little League baseball anymore. They told me that I couldn't play, and so my parents bought me golf clubs, and so that I could play golf, and that was the way that I could play sports. And now, how do I play sports? I ride my bike. And so sports might look different for me, but it's very important that we get out, we stay active. I used to love playing with a ball. Even now, I still throw the ball with Owen and with our older son, Hayden, when he comes home from Montana. I love to do that. It's one of my favorite things to do.
My name is Owen too.
Your name is Owen too? Or just Owen? Your name is Owen? Yeah, it's a good name. Thanks, dude. You can go back to your seat. Anybody have any other questions about disability? I picked a lot of boys. Let's pick a girl. Do you want to ask? No? Okay. Go ahead. How do I pick up something? I use my two arms like they're one hand. So I use my two arms and grab it at one time. Go ahead, dude. It's a cool bike. Thank you very much. I think it's cool too. I love it. You know what though? My buddy's bike it looks more like the Batmobile, which might be cooler. So, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. What? Go ahead, dude. How far do I throw? I don't know. Maybe to Mrs. Ganley. Maybe more. Not bad, huh? Go ahead. Why do I have a flag on the back? Why, do you know why I have a flag on the back? You want to take a guess? Why? Who? Well, go ahead. So a car doesn't hit me. You know what? It's when you're really low on the ground on your bike, you want to make sure that people can see you. So I wear a helmet. I have a helmet under my jacket. I always wear a helmet, always wear a helmet. And I wear a helmet and I have a flag on my bike so that I don't get hit by a car. And still, I try to be careful and stay as close to the edge of the road as possible. Go ahead. Yep. Oh, your dog broke her leg? That's not good. I'm sorry to hear that. Go ahead, bud. Yeah, we all grow more and more and more. See, the thing, I didn't grow. I grew the same as you, but I didn't have the long legs to grow. When I sit down, I'm the same height as your teachers are when they sit down. So my body is the same size. It's my arms and legs that are missing. So when you see me walking around, you're missing the height of my legs. But when I sit, I'm the same height as the teachers. Okay? One more. Go ahead. Do I use tools? Sometimes. Hammer, screwdriver, if I need to. I'm not very good that way around the house, but has nothing to do with no arms and no legs. Go ahead, dude. Do I work on the house? Not really. My wife won't let me work on the house. I don't get to do that. Go ahead. Your dog died? Wow, there's a lot of dogs going on here. This is not good. I'm sorry. One more. Go ahead, bud. You had 2 dogs and they died? I'm sorry to hear that. You want to ask a question? How do I push a grocery cart? I have a 7th grader named Owen. He pushes the grocery cart. All right, I want you put your hands down for a minute. We're coming to the end. I want to ask you a favor. Can you do me a favor? If somebody's picking on you, I want you to say something to a teacher, and then I want you to be with your friends. Right? If you have a question about somebody who's different, or you see somebody with a disability, I want you to ask that question with love and kindness. Don't pick on anybody, but be okay to ask a question. Do you know the question that I get all the time if I see you outside? It's, why do I have no hands? Why am I so short? And you know what? It's okay that you ask that question. It's because I was born this way. And I'm proud to be this way. And it's all right for you to ask that. And I want you to know that it's okay. Okay? Thank you guys very much. You've been a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robinson. Okay, boys and girls, now we're going to leave Mrs. Quirk. You can go out that way, and we're going to have Miss Longton's class stand up, and you're going to go out this way. And follow along, please.